Hi, this is Fabian Trahan, and welcome to Ectophobia Radio, the ParaSanctum podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ParaSanctum podcast's very first live podcast. This is your host, Fabian Trahan. This is also being recorded in audio for Anchor, but this will be on Spotify in video form. This will be Season 3, Episode 27 of the ParaSanctum podcast. And I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year, continuing. Now, a couple episodes ago, back in Season 2, I done Idaho, southern Idaho. And I kind of wanted to stay up in the western part of the United States. In this case, the northwestern part of the United States, Montana. I used to run Montana considerably. It's a beautiful state. Lots of beautiful mountains. In fact, Montana means of the mountains or mountainous. If my memory serves me correctly, it is definitely a Spanish word regarding mountains. And lots of them. And Montana has a great many mountains to see. But I wanted to focus on 13 particular places in Montana that are haunted. And this comes from a wonderful little website called the Billings Gazette. I've been to Billings, Montana many times. It's interesting. Right now it's 2 degrees there. Not missing the cold there, just the scenery. Well, anyways, Billings, Montana, the Billings Gazette. And the website is billingsgazette.com. Exactly how it sounds. And I'm now going to read to you 13 of Montana's most haunted places. This article was published on October 30th, 2020, and all rights are reserved by the Billings Gazette. I do not claim any authorship or ownership of any of this material. It is on the internet, and it is available publicly. And I'm only sharing the story, as I have done with the majority of my ParaSanctum podcasts for the past 2 seasons. 13 of Montana's most haunted places. With its history of battles, copper kings, vigilantes, and rowdy residents, Montana has accrued a wealth of interesting stories. It's believed by some that these tales continue in the form of ghosts. Little Bighorn Battlefield National Monument. Declared a national monument in 1946 under the name Custer Battlefield National Monument, the battlefield was the site of the Battle of the Little Bighorn in June 1876. Image courtesy, the Billings Gazette. Casey Page. Then there's the Montana Territorial Prison, Deer Lodge. First housing prisoners in 1871, the Montana Territorial Prison served as Montana's correctional facility for more than a century before the current state prison was constructed outside of Deer Lodge in 1979. The old prison was known for its overcrowding and insufficient facilities. Early prison conditions made inmate life difficult, with poor food and not heating or cooling. Such an ominous-looking building, isn't it? Several convicts and staff were killed at the prison during its use. Perhaps the most notorious episode in the prison's lifespan was its 1959 riot, which led to the Montana National Guard being dispatched after Deputy Warden Ted Roth was slain and several guards and inmates were taken hostage. The riot ended after an anti-tank bazooka and Thompson submachine gun were fired at Cell Block 1, shown above. Allowing National Guardsmen to rush the prison. In the chaos, riot ringleader Jerry Miles killed his accomplice Lee Smart before committing suicide. Buildings at the prison remain scarred by the bazooka blasts and gunfire of the riot, but some say that the prison, which is now a museum, still houses some of its inmates. It's claimed that the ghost of convicted murderer Paul Eitner, known as Turkey Pete, still haunts cell number 1. Eitner spent 49 years incarcerated at the prison before dying of natural causes in 1967. Other phenomena reported include strange sounds and people being touched. Courtesy the Powell County Museum. The Paris Gibson Square Museum of Art in Great Falls. Built in 1896 as Great Falls High School, the Paris Gibson Square Museum of Art building was named for the founder of Great Falls. Paris Gibson was a prominent businessman who saw hydroelectric potential in the series of waterfalls on the Missouri River that the city shares its name with. The museum opened in 1977 and is reputed to be haunted. The phenomena experienced have included the sounds of children in the halls and the ghost of a girl in the basement. Courtesy Tom Bauer, Missoulian file photo. Looks like there's something in that one window in the turret area thing there. If you look at the round part right below the cone there, right in the center of the building, it's just probably a lamp. But who knows? The shadow knows. Boulder Hot Springs. Boulder. Thought that was in Colorado. Well, that's pretty. Kind of looks like the Amityville Horror House in a kind of strange way, but it's not. Boulder Hot Springs, Boulder. With an end dating back to 1881, Boulder Hot Springs predates Montana's statehood. Its location made it a place where miners, ranchers, and businessmen could all encounter one another. Today, it's claimed that the visitors can still encounter some of the hotel's former guests. The most famous of these phantoms, called Simone, is said to be the ghost of a prostitute who was murdered at the hotel. The legend has never been substantiated, but visitors and staff continue to report strange experiences. Wild temperature shifts, strange energies, and of course the sound of children running through the halls have all been described. The photos courtesy of Eliza Wiley. Next we have the Fort Peck Theater. When the Fort Peck Dam was built in the 1930s, the town of Fort Peck was built to temporarily house U.S. Army Corps of Engineers workers and their families. In addition to housing and other amenities, the Fort Peck Theater was built in 1934 to provide entertainment. The theater remains in use today primarily for theatrical productions. It does look like a theater, doesn't it? Also looks like that barn from, well, kind of, I guess. No, I'm not going there. The Pollard Hotel Red Lodge. Said to be the first brick building in Red Lodge, The Pollard Hotel was constructed in 1893 as the Spofford Hotel. 9 years later, Thomas F. Pollard bought the building and renamed it after his family. Pollard expanded the hotel and added amenities to draw customers. The hotel continues to operate, having served some of Red Lodge's most colorful visitors. As seems to be the case with many old hotels, the Pollard has seen its fair share of ghost stories. Guests and employees have described both male and female apparitions. One, a man dressed in 1920s clothing, is said to hang out near the bar and play pranks. A woman in a yellow dress is said to leave behind the scent of perfume. Staff have described strange noises and lights that turn on and off in the basement. Photo courtesy, the Billings Gazette. Grand Union Hotel, Fort Benton. Established by French-American fur traders Auguste and Pierre Chouteau, Jr., in 1846, Fort Benton is among the oldest towns in Montana. Much of the old fort was dismantled or crumbled under decades of weather, though a portion of it still exists. Considered the oldest building in Montana, but another 19th century building is said to be the town's paranormal headquarters. The Grand Union Hotel, built in 1882, has a reputation as a haunted hotel. Said to be the oldest hotel still in operation in Montana, the Grand Union is known for a number of odd happenings. I got to do it. I'm going to do this because I hate when I mess up. And this is my first live video, so let's do it again. Considered the oldest building in Montana. However, another 19th century building is said to be the town's paranormal headquarters. Okay, is that better? Well, if you look, they misspelled. They got 19th century buildings with an S. So I'm not the only one making mistakes. St. Charles Hall, Carroll College. This is going to be a work in progress. St. Charles Hall, Carroll College, Helena. I've been to Helena. Very pretty place. Very cold like the rest of it, but it's so beautiful there, guys. St. Charles Hall, Carroll College. The oldest building on the Carroll College campus in Helena is also said to be its most haunted. St. Charles Hall was named for St. Charles Borromeo, after whom the college was originally named, as Mount St. Charles College. The building, which began construction in 1909 and had its cornerstone laid by then U.S. President William Taft, is primarily used as a dormitory today. The most well-known activity in St. Charles Hall centers around the fourth floor men's bathroom. In 1964, a student blacked out while brushing his teeth and hit his head on a sink in the bathroom, causing hemorrhaging in his brain. He was treated at a local hospital, but died of pneumonia a few weeks later. Shortly after, students using the same bathroom began reporting strange occurrences. Some would say that while brushing their teeth or washing their faces, they would glance at the mirror and see a young man with a head wound standing behind them. Some claimed they would turn on the faucet only to find blood flowing out instead of water. After several years of these reports, the bathroom was locked up as it remains today. There have been rumors of scraping sounds coming from inside the bathroom. Other stories persist about a student jumping out of a window to commit suicide, with some students claiming to see the event replay itself on certain nights. Legends claim that several priests died in different manners in the building and still haunt the place. But none of these stories, other than the student who hit his head, have been verified. The Opera House Theater in Phillipsburg, Montana. There's something about old theaters that seem to fit well with ghost stories. The Phillipsburg Opera House, built in 1891 as a McDonald Opera House, has its fair share of tales. Patrons of the theater have described having their hair pulled by invisible hands and feeling inexplicable cold sensations. Some claim to have seen full-bodied apparitions in dark areas of this theater. Photo courtesy of Tom Bauer. (2223) Montana Avenue, Billings, Montana. A tragic accident is at the center of one of Billings' most famous reported hauntings. On December 8, 1945, an airplane transporting World War II soldiers who were returning home from the war crashed in the field east of Rocky Mountain College, in the area of what is now Veterans Park. 17 servicemen and 2 pilots died in the crash, which occurred during a blizzard, leaving only 4 survivors. The number killed was too much for the morgue and local funeral parlors to handle, so the bodies of 13 of the men killed had to be stored in the refrigerated warehouse of a local grocery store located at 2223 Montana Avenue. In the 7 years since the crash, the building has been home to various businesses, including the Spaghetti Depot and Depot Antiques. Employees and customers in the building, as well as passers-by, have reported seeing the ghost of a man in a World War II-era military uniform inside. Another photo courtesy of Billings Gazette. The Mini Glacier Hotel, Glacier National Park. That sure is pretty. The century-old Mini Glacier Hotel in Glacier National Park is a huge hotel complex on the eastern shore of Swift Current Lake on the east side of the park. The Swift Chalet architecture matches that of Lake McDonald Lodge, the Belton Chalet, and several other structures in the park. Though several of the old hotels and lodges in Glacier are said to be haunted to some degree, Mini Glacier Hotel is claimed to be the most active. Billings author and ghost hunter Karen Stevens has gathered a number of stories from the hotel. One tale involves a young boy who witnessed a woman in a red dress standing in his hotel room. Other guests, as well as employees, have recounted stories of various apparitions that vanish into thin air and strange noises coming from room 308. Again, photo credit Tom Bauer. The Daly Mansion in Hamilton, Montana. The Daly Mansion in Hamilton, Montana was a farmhouse when Copper King Marcus Daly purchased the home and its surrounding property from Anthony Chapin in 1886. The Dalys remodeled the home several times in different styles before settling on the Georgian Revival style seen today. The mansion was damaged by years of neglect after Margaret Daly's death in 1941. The state of Montana bought the property in 1986 and began the painstaking work of repairing and restoring the once impressive home. Ever since the state purchased the mansion, people have described strange phenomena within its walls. Smoking is not allowed in the house, but visitors and volunteers have reported the distinct scent of cigar smoke near Marcus Daly's office. A painting in the music room just can't seem to stay on the wall for long, but has no evidence of falling. Some even claim to have seen Mrs. Daly herself. Virginia City. Nice. So I'm thinking this is the same Virginia City that you old-timers like me probably remember a show called Bonanza. I'm guessing maybe that was Nevada. Virginia City. Perhaps it's unsurprising that one of Montana's most famous ghost towns would have a reputation as its most haunted place. Virginia City was founded in 1863 by prospectors who called it Verena, after the wife of Confederate President Jefferson Davis. Judge G.G. Bissell, the judge who was to sign the town's registration, objected to the name and instead called the town Virginia. So it would have been known as Verena City. The town's population grew as more people learned of the nearby gold discoveries. Without sufficient law enforcement, citizens were forced to take the law into their own hands, forming the Montana Vigilantes to deal with robbers along the roads leading into town. Several of the road agents, as they were called, were hanged by the Vigilance Committee. By the 1940s, the town was in disrepair. Charles and Sue Bovey bought up much of the town for restoration and preservation. The state purchased Bovey's properties and has maintained the site ever since. Virginia City's history, both colorful and tragic, has led to tales of ghostly encounters in the mining city streets. One ghost, a tall man in a blue Civil War soldier's coat, is said to smoke along the town's boardwalks at night. A woman and a young girl are other specters alleged to have been seen. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. So that was 13 of Montana's most haunted places as per the Billings Gazette in Billings, Montana. This is my very first podcast, so I got a little work to do on it. I really appreciate you guys checking it out, and this will also be the ParaSanctum podcast as well. And you can catch that on Spotify. You can catch that on Anchor. You can catch it anywhere you listen to podcasts, including Amazon Music now. And you can actually talk to Echo or hit the button on your remote if you have Amazon Music. Just say the words ParaSanctum Podcast. And it'll bring up the latest episode of the ParaSanctum Podcast by yours truly. Thank you for listening to Season 3, Episode 27 of the ParaSanctum Podcast /podcast. I do hope you take care with whatever it is that you're doing. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for supporting the podcast. If you don't like this, send me an email at fabian07@hotmail.com, or you can go to facebook.com and type in ParaSanctum Podcast and leave your comments there. Each and every one of you have a wonderful rest of January and the rest into February. Take care. Keep it spooky, and bye-bye for now.